and basically you're halfway through your season, including European stuff, etc. What are your thoughts on the championship now? Is it as tough as what you thought it would be?
The championship's actually tougher than I thought it would be. When I did Vauxhall last year, the championship was about what I thought, pretty much. This is far harder than I imagined. It's so competitive because Vauxhall and Ford will be together because there's really no Vauxhall series. So all the best junior drivers that are going to be the next Formula One drivers are in it and are just dying to do anything to get there. So it's a real battle.
Is it too early to talk about next year? Would you like to do another year in Formula Ford in the Slick 50 Championship?
Yeah, it's not too early, no, of course. Yeah, I'm quite sure that I'll be doing Formula Ford again next year with Jim and Haywood, so I'll be joining him after the last round at Silverstone for the European, the Festival, and the Winter Series, so hopefully I can hit it hard and make a really good impression then.
Now you've got a new teammate this weekend. Is it good for you?
It doesn't really matter to me, to be quite honest, if she's in it or not, really. Good for her that she's doing it and she's getting out of the juniors Z-Tech and into this. Good for her, but for me it doesn't really matter. It's just another competitor, so it's no big deal.
As ever before a round of the championship, there was the pre-race test, a chance for the drivers to get familiar with the circuit and get the setup of the cars right, ready for qualifying. James Courtney, the championship leader, was one man keen for a good result to try to sew up the championship. Marino Franchitti, who had a disappointing season 2000, was another man in need of a good result here. So too was Robert Bell, driving for Team JLR, the team run by Richard Dean, who'd scored a win himself in the GT Championship earlier on in the season. A new team, though, for Johan Fori. He now switches to Mick Gardner Racing, rather unhappy with the way his season had been going at Haywood Racing.
I had a bit of a struggle with the team during the year. It's a really good team still, but if you don't get all the attention, I don't think it's worth staying with them and just seeing how you're dropping backwards. And I really thought I can maybe do better with another team that gets all the focus on me, all the attention on me. So I decided to leave because it wasn't really going really that well during the rest of the year or the season so far.
Must have been frustrating for you because you did start the year quite well in a positive fashion.
Oh yeah, of course it was a bit disappointed last year. In December holiday, I was really looking forward coming back to the UK, and I was really thinking I was going to do really well here in the UK, maybe get top 4 positions in the end of the season, but it just didn't work out that way, and I was really struggling. And since the first patch of bad luck I hit, it just went downhill all the way.
So is that the focus now with only a few rounds remaining in the Slick 50 series? What's your focus now to end the year on a high again?
All I want to do now is just get practice in the last British races, show that I can be up there, and then focus mainly on the European and the Festival, because I'm lying 4th in the European and there's still a chance that I might do really well and I'll win it, and then concentrate on the Festival. So just for the British, I'll just take it as practice, one race at a time, no pressure, just do my best and show them I can be up there.
Robert Doornbos is a recent addition to the Formula Ford Championship. Last year he raced in the UK in the Europa Cup, but now in Formula Ford, the ex-Formula Arco Baleno driver is finding life a little bit tougher. This accident during the test session rendered his Sweeney Hopper racing car a 3-wheeler, and it gave the mechanics an awful lot of work to do. The industrial vacuum cleaner is to get the gravel out of the bottom of the car. So, with testing completed then, the driver's next priority was qualifying and then the race. The grid for round 12 of the Slick 50 Formula Ford Z-Tech Championship would line up with a Works van Diemen taking pole position, but this time not James Courtney, the championship leader. Instead, by the end of the qualifying period, it was Robert Dahlgren who was fastest. Dahlgren then at the front of the 1x1 staggered grid formation, yet to score a win in Formula Ford this year, and lining up second on the grid, number 5, James Courtney. Courtney here has to make a decision whether he goes for the points or whether he goes for the race win. But the result in the top 3 will stand him in good stead, no less, to take the title. Anthony Davidson there lining up 3rd on the grid. He's had 3 wins this year. Peter Gray 4th, making it 3 Works van Diemen drivers in the top 4. Alan van der Merwe lining up 5th with Mark Taylor, himself a double winner, 6th on the grid. 30 laps about to get underway. The lights on the gantry are red, the engine notes rise, they go to green. Robert Dahlgren slithers away from the adverse cambered pole position there. Good start by Anthony Davidson, going through into 2nd place. James Courtney 3rd as they dive down towards paddock for the first time. Alan van der Merwe, the South African driver, going through next up in 4th place there as they turn their way up towards Druids for the first time. Robert Dahlgren has come so close to a win on a couple of occasions already this year. Well, today, maybe it is his day. Down the hill they come for the first time. Peter Gray and James Courtney, they're scrapping together as Anthony Davidson in the Mygale looks now to try and get ahead of Dahlgren. On they go up towards McLaren for the first time. Peter Gray there going through in 4th place, but ahead of him is James Courtney. Ahead of Courtney is Davidson in the red Mygale, all over the back of Robert Dahlgren now. Making their way up then to complete lap 1 of 30. The Brands Hatch Indy Circuit is a very rapid lap indeed, and it's not the sort of lap on which you get any respite at all. These cars will lap in the mid-47 second bracket and side by side there. Davidson, number 1, tries to go around the outside of the Swedish driver. Robert Dahlgren can't do it. Davidson came into Formula 4 this year, very highly rated indeed. Great pedigree in karting. While at the start of the year there was a bit more hype than success, and they're running very wide. James Courtney comes back at him on the inside line. Dahlgren hangs on to the lead. Courtney going through for 2nd place. Anthony Davidson dropping back, I think, into 3rd as they turn their way now through Graham Hill Band. Has he hung on to 2nd? Yes, he has. Fighting back on the inside line. Davidson goes 2nd once again. But all of that now means that Dahlgren is about 3 lengths clear. Davidson 2nd, Courtney 3rd, 4th is Peter Gray. And there, look, off into the gravel, number 31. That's the Finnish driver, Olli Kurala. Broken suspension on his Swift Cooper. He's out of the race. Number 28, the black car of Adam Carroll, diving down through paddock. But it's Robert Dahlgren leading. 2nd is Davidson. Then James Courtney 3rd. Mark Taylor there, look, up into 5th place now at the expense of Adam Carroll. Local man Mark Taylor comes from Tunbridge Wells. His father, Mike Fulmar Taylor, very successful Formula 4 and Sports 2000 racer in the late 70s, early 80s. And the cars running ever wider there, turning their way out of Druids. Adam Carroll, look, back on the inside to retake the place from Taylor. Through he goes. Adam Carroll in the Van Diemen goes back ahead of the Mackie Motorsport run Mygale of Mark Taylor. Turning their way out of Clearways, on now towards Clark Curve. And there is Gary Catt, just fending off Alan van der Merwe. Van der Merwe's got a problem, look, pulls to one side, slows right down, coming up over the line. Well, we've started with 3 Hayward Racing Mygales. We're down to 2 because there, one of them, Alan van der Merwe, is out of the race. In the meantime, the race leader is still Robert Dahlgren, turning his way now through Druids. He's going to drop downhill any moment. He does so now, look. The real question in this, though, regards Anthony Davidson. For as long as James Courtney is attacking him for 2nd place, he's going to have to defend and go slower. If he can pull away sufficiently from Courtney, then he can attack for the lead as there Alan van der Merwe pulls into retirement. He's going no further. Race leaders in the meantime swing their way now through paddock. There, Mark Taylor battling with Gary Catt, the 2 of them together. Different chassis, though. Mygale ahead of Van Diemen. Mark Taylor, having had a win at Knockhill, a win at Thruxton this year as well, turning his way now out of Druids. He drops downhill, down towards Graham Hill Bend. And Gary Catt right behind him. In the meantime, though, Dahlgren is clear. Anthony Davidson is still trying to fend off the next of the works Van Diemen's, that driven by James Courtney. If Courtney can stay 3rd, he's going to get enough points to win the championship. There goes Mark Taylor through ahead of Gary Catt and fending off the Van Diemen. That's Alan van der Merwe out of the race. Not very happy about life. He wants to get back to the pits. The marshals, though, tell him where to stand. Over the line, Taylor and Catt, they're running together now, look, coming past the pits. Absolutely nose to tail, those 2. Gary Catt having a look on the inside line. Can he find a way past? No, not yet. Race leaders coming up the hill then. Leading is Dahlgren, 2nd is Davidson, 3rd is Courtney, 4th is Gray, then the fight for 5th between Taylor and Gary Catt. Round the outside, tries to go Catt, he can't quite do it there. Downhill, absolutely nose to tail. Gary Catt goes to the outside and there's contact and off he goes. The pair of them go off. Gary Catt swipes the tyre barrier there, loses the front right wheel. There you go, the new Roland Robin entry into Formula 4. Gary Catt's 3-wheeler is out of the race, and Mark Taylor crabbing his way back onto the circuit. Now, he was given a mighty whack at the right rear, and his tyre is down. Look, tyre is gone. A puncture for Mark Taylor. He pulls off the circuit. He could possibly limp back to the pits and get that change, but he'd be so far back at the end of the pit stop, he wouldn't get any points. There's no real benefit in continuing. So, Taylor and Catt eliminate one another, and still up front, the man in charge is Robert Dahlgren. They're turning through, getting ever higher up the order now. He's number 20, the Japanese driver, Hideki Muto. Very disappointing last year for Martin Donnelly's team in Formula Vauxhall, but going much better this season in Formula 4. Maybe a bit more power is helping him. Number 38 there, Danica Patrick, the American girl, turning her way through. She was in Formula Vauxhall last year, graduating, as you heard before the race started, for her first of 2 years in Formula 4. Battle on now, though, between Robin Rudholm there in the red Mygale, losing out as Adam Carroll goes ahead of him. Carroll right on the limit, though, sliding the car up towards Clearways. A replay look, Gary Catt goes to the outside line. Mark Taylor went across as well to cover. The two cars touch, and Mark Taylor acting as a ramp there, really, launching Gary Catt off the circuit. The two of them go off onto the grass. Gary Catt out on the spot, but that contact punctures the tyre on Taylor's Mygale, and he is going no further. Out of the race then, Mark Taylor. Good battle still raging on as there Johan Fori turns his way through the right-hander of Druids. A look on the inside there, that's one of the Team JLR cars. Contact is made. Luke Hines, I think, was one of the drivers there being scooped aside. Now, was that Robert Urquhart or Robert Bell that made contact? Robert Urquhart it was, as they're coming down the hill. Number 44, Luke Hines continues, albeit now the back of the car a little bit second-hand, having been savaged there by the Team JLR entry. Down the pit lane comes number 22, very, very slowly. Catherine Legg into retirement. The Mick Gardner racing car out of the race, and Catherine Legg parks it, and that's her race over and done with. Now just about everybody else has found someone to battle against, except there another car ploughing off into the gravel. Loads of dust still settling. Strong work out who it is. The driver is okay. Clambering out of the car is Mike Harfield in the car run by the Alain Menu Motorsport team. And Alain and the team boss Mike Baker are not going to be very impressed about that. Leaders go through. There, number 1, look, Anthony Davidson trying to come back at Robert Dahlgren. As he does so, he takes with him James Courtney. Then they delay one another. And so, again, Davidson will have to defend second place. Catherine Legg out of the race. Very disappointed. Her maiden outing, having graduated from MGFs into the Junior Championship, now into the Senior category, is over midway through. Good battle there, though, almost banging wheels. Number 4, Johan Fori, trying to fend off Gary Turkington. And a spin there, it's the Vector, I think. Richard Göransson losing it, and bang! Big, big impact there. Cars going all over the place in avoidance. Out of the race there with another three-wheel car, number 45, Robert Scott. His Team MDR Martin Donnelly racing car out of the race. There is the Vector of Richard Göransson, the Swede. So, big spin, big impact as well there between the two. Just wonder whether there might have been a bit of oil put down, because the cars seem to swap ends very, very suddenly. The next battle to look for, looking at there, being helped off, I think. Number 3 goes off into the gravel. That was Robin Rudholm being scooped out of the way. Still spinning the wheels, trying to get back on the tarmac. Yellow flags out there at the approach to Kidney. As coming through now is number 6, Robert Dahlgren. Through Surtees, through McLaren, through Clearways now, on up towards Clark Curve. It looks as though Robert Dahlgren is going to score at long, long last a maiden win in this year's Slick 50 Formula 4 Championship. The Swedish driver comes across the line now to win, and he wins in style. Great drive by Robert Dahlgren then. Anthony Davidson shadowing him race long, but the Van Diemen triumphs over the Mygale. Now here is a replay look of earlier dramas. Johan Fori just fending off there, number 36, the car of Gary Turkington. Then off, first of all, goes Richard Göransson. He is attacked there by Robert Scott, also going off, number 41, Dan Hazelwood in the green car, the man that won the first division in last year's championship, and lots of battered Formula Fords sitting around the circuit. So a win for the first time this year for the Swede, Robert Dahlgren, ahead of Anthony Davidson, and James Courtney's third place gives him the championship. Peter Gray 4th, ahead of Adam Carroll, with Johan Fori 6th. Turkington finishing in 7th place there, but James Courtney does enough to take the championship. Mark Taylor 2nd at the moment from Anthony Davidson, and that win for Robert Dahlgren draws him a little bit nearer in 4th place, and no doubt he's very happy indeed, celebrating a maiden win. The Swede victorious here at Brands Hatch. Robert Dahlgren, the winner.
So some cars go off. The only thing I hoped there was no safety car should come out, so they could put the gap closes down. And that was the only thing I was worried about, not go off on the gravel or anything. Yeah, just keep consistent, do consistent times.
One of the best races this season, I think. Basically, I knew I had to get Courtney off the start, and I really made sure on the green flag lap that I got a good start just to practice it. And it worked really good, and I managed to get him going into paddock on the first lap, and stayed like that to the rest of the race.
It's actually a lot better to race than what it was to probably watch from the outside, but no, I just had to settle for 3rd place, because I think now that means the championship's over. It's over now, I think, and if it's not over, I only have to finish it. I get 1 point at the next race, but it's really good, so I pretty much settled for 3rd. Anthony was quite a bit quicker through Druids and Graham Hill, but then we seemed to have the edge for the rest of the track, so it was a pretty close race, and it was really, really, really close the whole way.
I don't think James Courtney yet knows he's won the championship. Well, he can start doing his sums, because that 3rd place has clinched it for him. James Courtney is the new Slick 50 Formula Ford Zetec champion here at Brands.
The 2000 Slick 50 Formula Ford Zetec Championship has already been won by James Courtney at Brands Hatch at the last round, but the scrap for runners-up is far from over between Mark Taylor and Anthony Davidson. And Mark Taylor's team manager joins us now, Andy Mackey. The pressure is really on.
Yeah, it's not too bad though. We should be pretty good for second, I think. Hopefully we can score some good points at Alton Park and just keep scoring the points. It's then up to everybody else to catch us.
Is it a little tough continuing on in the season when you know the championship is out of your reach now, or it means a lot to you to get runners-up?
No, it still means a lot to us to get the runner-up place. The championship's won, you've got to aim a bit lower.
You've been around motorsport for a long time. What do you think of Mark Taylor? He's had a very good year.
Yeah, we've had an excellent year, and really that's come about by having 2 years continuous with the same team. He's been able to learn a lot and consolidate that in his second year. Too many people want to move out of Formula Ford before they've finished with it. That's the way I view things with it.
Is it satisfying for you as a team manager to see Mark finish as top Mygale, although you're not necessarily the factory team?
I don't see a lot of difference in that really. You were just teams running cars. At the end of the day, Haywood are just in the same position. It's slightly different for Van Diemen because they are properly works assisted. Gives them slight advantages here and there, but it makes it a bit easier to beat them.
Alton this weekend, how will your boy fare?
I think we can do quite well. He normally goes well at Alton. Hopefully it'll pan out there and not have to go too much to Silverstone.
Okay, as we said, the pressure is on. 2 races to go. Who are you backing, your boy or Davidson?
It's tough. They're fairly equal now that everything's got towards the end of the year. Anthony's certainly driving better than he was at the beginning of the year, so it's going to be tough.
One man who's not too worried about second place is the team manager who has already secured the championship, Jonathan Lewis from the Van Diemen team. Jonathan Lewis, congratulations. It must be a very satisfying feeling to be champion again.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm pleased for all the boys, all the mechanics, Lindsay who runs James, everybody, Duckham's. It's been a good job.
You've been around racing a long time, and Formula Ford's a long time as well. How highly do you rate this young guy?
Very highly. He'll go all the way. He'll be Australia's next Formula 1 driver, I think.
What's his best characteristics? What's his strongest points that have become evident to you throughout this year?
His strongest point really is that he's never really phased, and he's stayed the same from the minute we met a year ago to now. He's not changed, and that makes him strong because he's still got that child element, which makes him likeable, but also makes people give him their best.
It's been a good team effort though too, because I'm sure you're pleased with Robert Dahlgren's progress late in the season. Peter Gray has had a steady year too.
Yeah, I'm immensely pleased with Robert. He's come on strong. Really, I think he would have been a bigger threat in the middle of the year had he not had a run of bad luck, really. And Peter, we've turned Peter around from being a sort of average driver to a strong driver now, and I think Peter's getting better every time he goes out.
Does it hurt a little bit knowing, although you're pleased to produce another champion, does it hurt a little bit knowing that you're going to lose that driver and have to come up with another one?
Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, I don't like losing them because you just get them how you want them and then they go and then I've got to start all over again.
Is that half the challenge of a team manager though?
It is, but for every one you get, you probably get 3 that are hard work.
I believe I can contribute a lot from a driver. I can relate to what they're saying and I can advise them how to change their driving styles to overcome a problem that they may have with the car instead of always coming to the pit lane and saying, I've got this. And you can say, well, brake a bit later, turn on the brakes, get rid of the understeer that way, or they've got understeer on the extra corners, use your curbs. I've got a very good guy I work with, Jeremy Cottrell, and he's good for drivers' heads. And as a whole, it's a good package.
There's a lot that they've got to learn themselves. Ultimately, when they're out on the track, you can't do anything for them. But certainly in testing, you can pass on experiences, intricacies about individual circuits that maybe you've learnt from in the past, things about how to get the best out of the cars. And the modern day data loggers that we're allowed to use on these cars are a great driver training aid, and as long as you know how to analyse the information, you can push a driver on.
When you build a completely new team, you've got to get together a group of guys who all get on, who all work together. You spend a lot of time with each other. So getting the right people together is obviously important. Getting the correct manufacturer support is also important. Having a backup of data and information, and up to now we've been quite fortunate.
It's the second time we visit Alton Park in the 2000 Slick 50 Formula Ford ZTEC Championship. This should be an exciting one. Last time we were here was earlier in the year in May, and James Courtney, the newly crowned champion, was victorious on that occasion. We check qualifying. He starts from pole. It's his first in Silverstone several rounds ago. Robert Dahlgren in there as well. Gary Catt, Turkington, a good performance by those two. And Marino Franchitti starts from 10.
I would say it is as difficult. I came into this championship with my eyes open after watching last year and doing a couple of races in the second division car, but I think I was watching actually a video of last year's championship, and this year's so much more difficult. This is the toughest year I think I've seen for so long, because it's not just 6 or 7 people that can win a race. There's 15 or 16 that are quick enough to be in the top 6. There's also a lot of stupidity out there, but you know, some of these guys are learning, but I wish they wouldn't get me involved when they are.
What do you tell yourself when you're on the grid and perhaps not such a good qualifying position? Just get round that first corner, get through that first lap?
Basically, I mean, everyone, it doesn't matter where you start. If you're further back, you always go forward, because people come off, make mistakes, break their car or whatever. But it's trying not to be involved in those accidents. That's the hard thing. But yeah, basically I just try and get through the first lap.
Moments away, your pole sitter is left of screen, James Courtney. Robert Dahlgren is right there with him. Dahlgren has been on the improve as the season grows older, and Courtney has bogged it down off the line. Dahlgren has got the jump. Great start too by Gary Catt in the Rain-X car. He will slot into third position. It's a fairly clean start round Old Hall Corner. So it's Robert Dahlgren, the man who's experienced and enjoyed 2 wins this year. Could very well have been 3, fairly tight through the opening turns in this race, but it is the 2 Duckham's racing with Van Diemen's cars. Dahlgren, Courtney, they've already got a bit of a buffer over Gary Catt. Turkington, Mark Taylor and Anthony Davidson a little further back. That's somewhat strange to see those 2 guys back there, and they are having one hell of a scrap for that second position in the championship. Down into the chicane, contact there. We've got some debris flying all over the place, but no cars running off, fortunately, through this very tight section here. Someone's run wide there. Could have been Marino Franchitti, it looked like. He's back on track. Someone has totally missed the chicane altogether. Back up front, there's your 2 race leaders. Then Gary Catt. Turkington is running 4th at the moment. Mark Taylor and Anthony Davidson, the 2 Mygale drivers. Very important for either driver, whoever comes out on top today. 1 and 2 have already broken away. Robert Dahlgren, the Swede. Now Mark Taylor slips through on the inside. Davidson is not letting him get away. Through come the rest of the field around Lodge Corner. And over the start-finish line to complete the first lap. Many to go. Will Courtney go for the win in this one? He's already shown everyone what he can do this year. 5 wins, and he's wrapped up the championship at the last round at Brands Hatch. Will he sit there and help his teammate get maximum points, or will he go for the win? The guys who are challenging, it's not impossible for Dahlgren to get second. Oh, we've lost someone. Car 26, that's Robert Urquhart. He is buried under that tyre wall. That looked like a very, very quick off and quite a heavy impact. Let's hope that Urquhart is okay. Very early in the race, Robert Urquhart has had quite a serious crash. We'll wait, we'll get back to that. Let's hope that he is okay through the chicane again. Dahlgren, Courtney, 1 and 2. They look good, don't they, the 2 Works Van Diemen's cars? And there's Robert Urquhart. Thankfully, he's on his feet and okay. So it looked more serious than what it was. Just the tyre barrier caving in over the top of him. But the young guy, in his very first season in the Slick 50 Championship, he's okay and just signals to the crowd, no problem. And that's nice to see. We get back with it. Dahlgren defending from James Courtney, so perhaps Courtney's not going to let Robert Dahlgren have it easily. Again, they complete another lap. There's Gary Catt in the Rain-X car, sitting 3rd and doing a good job. But these are the 2 guys who we are quite interested in. I'm talking about Anthony Davidson in the Hayward Racing Mygale and safety car out on the track. Look at car 45. That's Robert Scott's car. Looks like a canoe. Everything has been smashed off it. And here we have a look. This is the Urquhart incident. Contact there, and he just runs straight on. Crunch. Head on into the tyre barrier. And thankfully it has done its job. Absorbed the impact. And as you saw for yourself, Robert Urquhart was able to walk away. So the full field under safety conditions. And a rather sick-looking car being towed away. Well, you can only imagine at this point what happened to car 45, Robert Scott's car. Here is another incident as they run wide. People going all over the shop. This is Michael Harfield in car 11. Spins, grass, track, grass again. Able to continue. But there's Robert Scott's car completely missing the left-hand side wheels. And there is Urquhart's car. So some pretty damaged cars for very early in this round 13 race for the Slick 50 Championship. Marshall's doing a good job always at Alton. Very quick on the scene. And the lights are off on the safety car. We're about to go green again. Important here for Robert Dahlgren to get the jump. This is Lodge Corner. Look at them all lining up, ready to go. Here we go. We crank it up now. Dahlgren has got about 2 or 3 car lengths over his teammate James Courtney. But that won't stay like that for too long, you'd imagine. 1 and 2, 3 is Cat, 4 is Turkington. That has not changed. Then Mark Taylor and Anthony Davidson. Someone locking it up there, Peter Gray, a few positions back. Gray's had a fairly steady year, as you would have to say in all due respect to him as the number 3 Duckham's driver. 1 and 2, the teammates. Plenty of talk, and it would more than be just talk as we see car number 2, that's Alan van der Merwe. There doesn't seem to be too much damage to that car, so you'd imagine that it's mechanical problem, mechanical failure. Plenty of talk about Courtney going F3 racing, and in fact he's got some F3 tests coming up later this year with perhaps Alan Docking Racing and the Stewart F3 team. We'll keep you posted on that, but it's an exciting time for James Courtney, the newly crowned champion. And the question we focus on at the moment, who will be runner-up? Who will be number 2 in the Slick 50 Series for 2000? There's 2 guys flashing on by that could very well be in that position. Mark Taylor is currently in that position. But Anthony Davidson charging hard. So too is the man who leads this race, Robert Dahlgren. The Swede, who is based not too far from the Brands Hatch circuit in Kent. And it's great to see he and Courtney running up front because they're old-time friends. They raced each other all through the karting days. And now here in the toughest Formula Ford category, probably the toughest open-wheeler category in the world. It's been a steady race from Dahlgren, but the pressure now starting to come on Gary Catt. And car 20, that's Hideki Muto, is having a nice run in 4th spot. Thought it was Gary Turkington earlier on, but my apologies to the Japanese driver. He's having a very, very strong run. That's good. A nice way to end the season. Even better if he can stand on the podium, if he can get past Gary Catt. 1 and 2, they have not changed. They've been stuck together. And they look smooth, very slick out in front. Dahlgren looking at his 3rd, possibly his 3rd win this season. No one has had more than car number 5 there. He has had that exact number, 5 wins in the Slick 50 Championship in the year 2000. As he just shadows his teammate. Well, if James is sitting back there and maximising the points, car 17, that's Marino Franchitti, runs off. It's been a tough, tough year for the young Scot. He'll bounce back. He'll be around in 2001. Perhaps not with the Aztec International team. We'll wait and see. So if Courtney is assisting his teammate, that's good team driving. It's been quite interesting how strong the Swede has got as the season has grown older. Courtney has not won a race since Silverstone, which was round 7, so quite a few rounds ago. And that was his last pole position as well, but he has been so consistent in this season, and that's what's got him the championship. That's why it has already been decided. Davidson and Taylor, their battle continues, but it is for the minor placings and not many points to be gained there. This is where the maximum points are, up the front. Fastest lap of this race, incidentally, to young Adam Carroll. The Ulster teenager, a 1:25.09. Good going. He's further back in the pack, but obviously going very well. This is 1 and 2. Here at Alton Park. Coming up to complete another lap. You heard from Jonathan Lewis earlier saying that it's always hard when you get a driver up to how you want them, talking about James Courtney getting up to the level that you expect, and then they're about to leave. Well, that's what will happen. What will Robert Dahlgren do next year? Not quite sure whether he'll go around again or whether he will try and make the step up to Formula 3. Talk about Mark Taylor doing that as well. They don't like to stay in Formula Ford for too long, but it's important to stay long enough and not go too early. No change here. Courtney just pulls out so Dahlgren can see him in his mirrors. Gary Catt is hanging on to a nice third spot. Whoa, we've got a car on fire. That looks like Richard Joransson's Vector. So the fire marshals quick to attend to that. And Joransson obviously not in the car, so he's made a quick escape. And that's right at Lodge Corner, just before they head into Deerleapen across the start-finish line, and red flags out too. The Vector not looking too good, is it? Here's a replay of the incident. Joransson coming together with car 37, that's Robbie Coleman. And Coleman in not too bad a shape. But Joransson, look at the crowd behind looking at Joransson's car, where it's obviously caught fire. Robbie Coleman fires up and gets going again. You can see there damage to the exhaust of that car, so fortunately for Robbie, the race has been stopped and he won't have to worry about that, but fire extinguishers being worked overtime. You can see there the red flag is out, so the race will be stopped and will go back one lap. That's the rule. So Dahlgren picks up his third win of the season. Nice work, maximum points, and that battle for second, that chase for second spot in the Slick 50 series is far from over. And look at that Vector, Richard Joransson's car, the Pops.com car, not in good shape. Here's an earlier replay of an incident coming around. Danica Patrick there, and that's Johan Furey. Car slowing down, and he's just pulling onto the grass there and will not finish this race. So hard luck there to the young South African driver. We stay with the replays, and there's Joransson. You can see the fire underneath the car, and Joransson was very, very quick to get out and get away. And nice job too from the marshals. Very quick to respond there. As we check the final placings, and the one you might like to look at is in 5th position, Mark Taylor. Anthony Davidson did not get any points. They had contact, and Davidson was disqualified from the race. So an advantage there to Mark Taylor, the championship points. Second is getting very, very interesting.
I was happy that I cut it off because it's a lot of pressure from James, but close the door all the time, and that helps. I always want to drive the whole race, but when you're in the lead, you just want to see the checker flag.
Dodgy start. My teammate managed to get ahead of me. Then I just stayed behind him for the race, and because he needs the points in the championship. I've already won the championship, and it's best to have him second in the championship. So it's a 1-2 for the team. Got away, just driving behind him, and then the red flag came out, and it was all over. Cut our fun short.
It was hard. I mean, I was being pushed all the way, but I was just trying to tag onto the front two really and get towed along by them to sort of drop me off the guys behind, but it didn't really work that way because they were a bit too quick up front, and it was a case of sort of having to defend third for part of the race, but it was good to finish third.
Let's take a look at the replay of that incident with Robert Urquhart. It was a very scary moment for the young driver, and it has been quite a tough learning year, his first year in Formula Ford, but we can fortunately say he was okay as he got out of the car. Well, Robert, not quite the finish you were looking for there. What happened?
Well, I had a bit of contact with another driver, and unfortunately the whole haul just went straight into tyres. One of those things.
Anyone's fault?
I think it was a bit my fault, defending the line, and Farouz obviously wanted to get past. We've had trouble all weekend with engines blowing up, so we weren't really on the pace, but I'd say 60-40.
It's been a tough year for you, hasn't it?
Oh, very, very tough. I mean, it's my first year in car racing. I've only had 1 year in karting, so most of these guys have been doing it for years and years. So I've got a bit of a disadvantage, but I'm going to catch up for next year.
I was just about to say, will we see you next year?
Oh, definitely next year. I'll be setting the pace for sure next year.
Have you enjoyed it, albeit a tough year?
Oh, it's been a very tough year, but I've enjoyed it. I've learnt a hell of a lot of things, so yeah, I'm looking forward to next year.
What's going to be those things that you take into next season? What have you come away from this season with?
Well, I've learned all the tracks. I've learned how to drive the cars correctly, and obviously I've learned a bit of racecraft there, So it's good.
And learned not what to do at Alton.
Oh yes, no crashing next year.
As we mentioned earlier, James Courtney has already wrapped up the 2000 Slick 50 Formula Ford Zetec Championship, but he can now play a major role in helping his teammate Robert Dahlgren get right up there. The battle for second is fascinating. There is just 10 points between this guy, Mark Taylor, in the Mygale, back to Anthony Davidson, fellow Mygale driver, different teams, and only 6 points back to Robert Dahlgren. 16 points separating second, third and fourth. Will it be a Duckham's 1-2 in the championship? We will have to wait and see as the title goes to Silverstone. Now we know cars slip and slide when there's oil on the track, but so too do officials. Bob Bassett slipping and sliding, and good on you, Richard, for helping him out. It's the 14th and final round of the Slick 50 Formula Ford Zetec Championship, and the title has already been wrapped up. It was won 2 rounds ago at Brands Hatch by Van Diemen driver James Courtney. James, congratulations, must be a great feeling.
Yeah, it's an excellent championship to win. I feel really good, especially because I've won it before the end of the year, and now I can just relax for the last few races.
People talk about these kind of championships being a 2-year championship. Last year you settled in and learnt, and this year you're champion. Things have gone to plan.
Yeah, everything's gone to plan. The car's been really good all year. We worked really hard over winter. I've connected really well with the team because I've been with them now for 2 years, and we get on really well, and everything's just worked perfectly.
Now it's looking good for the future, isn't it? F3 is a big possibility, or almost a certainty for next year. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I have a few tests with I think the 4 top Formula 3 teams have approached me and wanting to do some sort of deal for next year. They're all willing to give me a test, and I've got a few tests lined up, and that's what I'm really looking to do next year. So I've just got to do the right job in the test day and then pick the deal that I'd like to take.
For those drivers who you know are going to line up again in the Slick 50 Championship next year, who would you tip as the 2001 champion from what you've seen this year?
Well, it's hard to say. There's a lot of guys that are staying on this year for next year. I think probably Pat Long, the American guy, who is racing with Van Diemen in the Winter Series, will probably do really well. And also there's a Swedish guy, Göransson. I think he's one of the guys for next year that's going to be the hot shot.
Now, one of the things that comes along with being the Slick 50 Formula Ford Zetec Championship is you often make bets and sometimes you might lose bets. Take a look at this. Off with the hat, James. Tell us what that's all about.
Well, at the start of the year, Jonathan Lewis peroxided his hair, and I was teasing him the whole time about it, and he said, "Radio, if you win the championship before the last round, you have to do this to your hair." And I didn't really want to do it, and he's going, "Come on, do it. Have a bit of a laugh." So I said, "Yeah, all right." So I did it, and I'm sort of regretting it now. It's kind of silly.
You only have to live through it for one round.
Yeah, I've got until Monday, and then I can change it back.
Congratulations again on the championship.
Thanks a lot.
Someone who Courtney tipped to do well next year is American Patrick Long, and he's experienced an interesting first season.
Well, it's everything I thought and a bit more. Definitely competitive. You've seen that qualifying is a lot of what happens during the race because it's so close and it's hard to move up because it's so competitive, but it's been great so far.
How do you mark yourself out of 10? What would you give yourself so far for your initial season?
I'm about halfway, I'd say, right now. I mean, breaking in the top 10 in qualifying is what I've been focusing on, at the end of this year, just to make sure that that'll improve my results at finishing the races.
Now you're racing for Aluminium Motorsport this year. What are your hopes and plans and sort of aspirations for 2001?
Well, I hope to capitalize on this year just as sort of a learning year and continue on next year in the Slick 50 series, hopefully with the Works team in Van Diemen.
Well, Robert, heading into the last round in the Slick 50 Championship, you're 5th in the season's points. How does that sit with you? Are you pleased or disappointed? Or
A bit disappointed, purely because at the beginning of the season we were very quick. We were on the podium 3 out of 4 times and things were looking good. So we would have hoped to be challenging for the lead. On reflection over the whole year, if you'd said to me at the beginning you'd be 5th, it wouldn't be too bad since it is our first year. So overall, not too disappointed.
There will be some guys that carry over into their second year. There's plenty like you that have just finished their initial year in the Slick 50 Championship. Do you fancy yourself as one of the front runners? You must, after being 5th at this stage.
Yeah, certainly, yeah. Not so much off the form that we're on now, but the beginning of the season when the car was good and everything was, fairly right, then we were challenging for wins this year. So we should take that into next year, and I'd be fairly confident in myself.
You say you're struggling a little bit now, but this is the test day. Silverstone's still a few days away. Do you think you can get it together?
I'd like to think so, yeah. We're trying various things to try and gain a bit of speed. We'll see.
When will you be able to tell us about 2001?
Very soon, hopefully.
Already people are talking about you as a strong threat for the championship next year. How do you feel about that?
Feels good because I came from Sweden where I won everything, and then I come here and was forced to take a step down really and fight for top 6 places. But next year I hope to be fight for the wins.
That step down, do you feel that's helped you develop a bit and grow as a driver?
Yeah, of course, because the level here is really high. It's really competitive, and I'm a much better driver now than I was in the start of the season.
Last round here at Silverstone, it's the second time you've been here this year. You'll know the track better than the first time. What are you hoping for this weekend?
A podium would be great, but I think realistic top 5 finish would be really good.
And next year, will you stay with the Haywood team?
I don't know yet. We have to wait and see.
The last time the Slick 50 series was at Silverstone, it was the halfway mark of the series, and James Courtney was victorious then. Can he do it again? They come around to line up for the 14th and final round, and James Courtney, as he did earlier this year, he starts from pole position alongside his teammate Robert Dahlgren, Mark Taylor, Peter Gray, Anthony Davidson, and you will hear us mention those names quite often. Anthony Davidson and Mark Taylor. The battle is on for second place in the Slick 50 Championship, set to go here at Silverstone. Courtney starting from pole. Robert Dahlgren, though, his teammate is very determined to finish the season on a high note. He wants to win here. There's plenty of private battles going on out there. Courtney's already made it clear that he's stepping up to Formula 3 next year. This will be his last Slick 50 Formula Ford Zetec Championship race. They all get away to a clean start, so a nice clear start there. But it's the 2 Duckums racing with Van Diemen cars out in front. It's all 3 of them, as a matter of fact. Look at those distinct yellow nose cones, and sideways goes Robert Dahlgren. Courtney tucks into second position. It's fairly tight as they all get into order. But it's Dahlgren who leads the way from Courtney, then Peter Gray. It's a great start by him. Someone's come to a halt back there. That looked like it could have been 44, Luke Hines. It was a bit of a skirmish midfield. Look at Anthony Davidson. Under brakes up the inside. He goes from 4th or 5th right up into 3rd. He may have run a little bit wide. Marino Franchitti there in 17, charging his way through, doing his best further back in the pack. What a frantic start at Silverstone. Everybody wants to win this final round. Gary Catt in the Rain-X car, he's well placed also. As they slip on through, it is the Swede, Robert Dahlgren. He's tasted victory in season 2000 and he wants some more. Look at Gary Catt get squeezed there. Trying to stay out of trouble. That's what they're all trying to do this opening lap. It's so crucial to clear out, find some of your own space and get established. And it was 44, Luke Hines, so that's some bad luck at the final round for him. Of course, Luke stepping up from the Avon Junior Formula Ford Series up to the big boys with the Slick 50 Series, and he's done quite well. He's adapted and coped quite well for the minimal amount of racing he's done in this series. Starting to spread out up front, isn't it? Here's a replay of the Hines incident. We just caught the tail end of it there, so not quite sure what's happened, but it definitely is enough to put the young gun out, and that's 12. That's the American Patrick Long. So Long's race is already over. with not yet one lap completed, but it's very tight up top. Looked like there was a bit of space further up. There's Danica Patrick in 38, whether she was involved in that incident with Patrick Long. Oh, look at the replay, dramatic stuff. The American has lost the front end of his car. The assembly unit and everything just collapsing, and that was Robert Urquhart that he tangled with there. And not a good way to end the year for Patrick Long, as he mentioned in the interview. It's been everything he imagined and more. It's been a tough year. Will he be able to cut it in 2001? I think so. He's got a lot of potential. Meanwhile, James Courtney has taken over the lead. So while all that was going on, Courtney has slipped through. His teammate's gone back to second position. And Adam Carroll in 28 is doing very well. Someone's gone again. Action aplenty at Silverstone. That was 39 that spun. That's Farouz F, who was going quite well. So hard luck to Farouz. Here's the replay. Look at him, just gets a little wide, rear left onto the dirt, and it spins. Fairly easy stuff, didn't hit anything, just missed one of the cones, no damage. He should be able to continue on. But this is the battle we are looking at and focusing on. This is intriguing stuff. Taylor and Davidson. Taylor, who sits second in the championship at the moment, is about to lose a position to Anthony Davidson. The two Magal SJ00 drivers. This will be very tough stuff. A long way to go in this 14th and final round. Taylor sits second at the moment. Davidson sits third. Desperately wants that second in the championship. But this is the scenario. If Anthony Davidson finishes second, Taylor needs to finish fourth. If Davidson finishes third, Taylor needs to finish fifth. There needs to be a car between them. Taylor gets it a little sideways on the ripple strip. So this is the battle for runner-up position in the Slick 50 Formula Ford Zetec Championship. Courtney leads. The man who has already been crowned champion is starting to clear out. There is his teammate Robert Dahlgren. Great run by car 28, the Sweeney Hopper racing machine of Adam Carroll. The teenager, boy, if you talk about threats for 2001, he very well could be one. Taylor puts an inside move. Carroll locks it up and loses two positions in the one corner. So he really hit the brakes hard there, and that will have flat spotted a tyre. Time to come in and change it. You just can't step on the anchors that hard, so hard luck there. Look at this, Taylor and Davidson, the battle continues. Davidson was a little frustrated through qualifying. Looks like he may have made that position. No, he hasn't. Mark Taylor is a very determined driver. The Carroll car in the pits and out of the pits. As quick as you like, but he's lost a lot of positions. He was running in the top 5, but not anymore. This is second place, Robert Dahlgren, who mathematically was in for a chance to finish second in the championship as well. But with Courtney leading the race, that won't happen today. Taylor, Davidson, they continue. I was saying how Davidson, what a slick move. Look at this on the inside. Well done, Anthony Davidson. Puts the car there, nice block pass, and Mark Taylor goes back one position. The Hayward Racing pilot said he was a little frustrated in qualifying. There was a bit of a mystery with the car. They weren't quite quick enough. But things going very well now. There's the margin, first to second. James Courtney has left his teammate behind. And we are zeroing in on the battle for third. Back in fourth position, that's car 20, Hideki Muto. A very strong run by the Japanese driver. Sitting top 5. He's improved as the season has progressed, and these two guys going hard at it. Well, if they haven't turned on enough action in Formula Ford, what about the news that we could potentially see all three? And when I say all three, James Courtney, Anthony Davidson and Mark Taylor, they all want to step up to Formula 3 next year. That would be a sensational battle. Look at this, it continues. Taylor's back up in that position now. Davidson has drifted wide, way wide, in fact almost lets Muto through. So Hideki Muto in car 20, he's the driver to watch too. Catching ground, look at Davidson right out on the white line. Couldn't quite get there, Taylor throws it sideways. This is fantastic Formula Ford action. Plenty at stake here. Who will finish second in the 2000 championship? Look at Hideki Muto. Now, not quite as an impressive move as Anthony Davidson put on Mark Taylor, because I'd say Davidson just let him through there a little. Whether he wants Hideki Muto to get up and start tangling with Mark Taylor, and that may advantage Davidson, who knows? For young drivers, these guys are very, very smart. They're racecraft after years in karting. is at such a high level. Here's the replay. Check it out. The third car in picture is the one you want to focus on. Hideki Muto, the young Japanese driver, straight up the inside of Hayward Racing Mygale driver Anthony Davidson. Davidson doesn't seem to be too worried because he's already made that position back. Now he wants to get back up there and mix it with Mark Taylor. He can't afford to let him go. There's second place Dahlgren, enjoying a fairly cruisy run. It looks like Adam Carroll has rejoined this top 5, but of course it would be a lap down. The battle continues for third on track, second in the championship. Hayward Racing's Davidson tries the inside, locks it up, big style, and then ran a little wide, almost overcooked it. How well is Mark Taylor handling this pressure? Driving with one eye looking forward and one eye in the rearview mirror. And for almost the entire race, his rearview mirrors have been full of Anthony Davidson. Good driving by the Mackie Motorsport driver, and then on the inside again, same move. Davidson does it again to Taylor. But it's not the end of Mark Taylor, the 22-year-old from Kent. He too completing his second year of the Slick 50 Championship, right up on the gearbox of Davidson, not letting him get away with anything. Hideki Muto is still hanging in there, so too is the third Duckham's driver, Peter Gray, who has finished on the podium this season, not as many times as he had hoped. The he-hit too has improved as the year has gone on. Here's a replay. This is the move. Davidson on Taylor. Taylor just drifts a little wide. You can see him look over there in his mirror. Where is he? Where is he? There he is, Mark, right on the inside, and takes that position. Can't wait, and fingers crossed, let's hope it happens, that we see all of these guys in F3. Look, you can see the nose cone of Taylor's car. That's gone already. And then we've lost two. We've lost Lewis Carter and Robert Urquhart. Another young driver who has endured a very, very tough and challenging and a steep learning year. That's Robert Urquhart. Taylor running without a nose cone. Davidson up ahead. Hideki Muto in the mix, and Peter Gray's right there, and Muto gives Taylor a bit of a tap. We're on the way home. This is the closing stages of the 14th and final round, and this is the scrap for second in the championship. If it stays like it is not enough for Davidson to get second. Mark Taylor in the Mackie Motorsport Mygale will get that runner-up position. Here is James Courtney coming in just behind Robert Urquhart, who has rejoined the circuit. He's left Lewis Carter there. But what about Courtney? He started the season at Brands Hatch with a win. He finishes the season with a win at Silverstone. Marvellous stuff to James Courtney. His teammate Robert Dahlgren just coming around the corner now, some 6.8 seconds behind. That's how much of a win it was to Courtney. And third will go to Anthony Davidson, and that will be enough to secure Taylor second in the series. Let's take a look at those final results for you. A tremendous result to the Duckham's driver James Courtney from his teammate. Another one too. Davidson, Taylor, Muto, Gray, Gary Catt and Robert Bell. Joranson and Van der Merwe rounding out the top 10. Courtney, of course, won the championship. Taylor consolidates his second. Davidson and Dahlgren. Here's that replay of the incident towards the end of the race between Lewis Carter and Robert Urquhart. Crunch, that's not the way to end the season, but this is the way to end the season. James Courtney, number one.
That's actually quite hard when you're out in front. You have no one to race, to push you along, so you have to really concentrate really hard and try and be really consistent. So I was pretty much just racing against my, have a little lap time and try and be really consistent to get away.
I was quick in the beginning, but I thought I'll let James go because he was a little bit quicker than me in the first 3 laps. I let him go, and then I thought he could let me pass when I was quicker than him after like 3-4 laps, but he didn't, and I finished second. So I'm not happy with that result really. I wanted to win this race because of the championship points.
If I needed to come third, I needed Taylor 2 places behind me. So that's what I was trying to work out in the race, trying to get him behind Muto or someone else that was behind him, Peter Gray maybe, but they just weren't quick enough to keep up with me and Taylor. We were kind of like the best of the rest of today, and that's the way it finished. So yeah, pretty good, but you know, we struggled a bit around here for some strange reason in qualifying, but we were quick in the race, so yeah, I'm happy enough for that. Look forward to the festival.
So as James Courtney enjoys his 6th victory of the season, Dahlgren and Davidson aren't going to let him go home dry. And we took time to talk to the top 10 in this year's series and asked them to review the highs and lows.
my worst part of the season is now, unfortunately, which is near the end of the season, where we are quite a bit off the pace at the moment in the dry. But the best part was at the beginning of the year at Thruxton. It was my 21st birthday and we had a third and a second at the double header, so it was excellent.
Worst point of the season was crashing with my teammate at Thruxton, and best point of the season was finishing on the podium at Alton Park last weekend.
At the start of the season, the very first race, I didn't do very well. Finished 15th, I think. Just getting used to the car and stuff, and my best result so far has been third at Thruxton, which was quite good.
The high would have to be at Knockhill, putting it on pole position within 5 laps and then walking away from the field and winning it with ease. Definitely a very good high.
The worst part of my season was at Alton Park at the beginning of this year, and I went off together with Adam Carroll, and that was not very good. But the highest point of this season was Magny-Cours in France. My first win and also the first race of the Euro Cup, so that was really good. Thanks.
My worst moment this season was probably the start, the first race at Brands Hatch. The qualifying in the race was not very good there. But then my best moment was my race at Snetterton, where I finished 5th and had a real good battle with Robert Bell. It was a good race, really.
Lows of the season, I suppose first 2 races. I think basically that's where our championship chances went very early on. So yeah, apart from that, it's been good.
The worst part of the season this year is being disqualified from finishing in 6th place.